All praises to the Most High Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi, Bahashem Raha Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, laboring in His truth in all sincerity. Jeremiah 29 and 30 in the NLT. We have all heard of the pride of Moab, for his pride is very great. We know of his lofty pride, his arrogance, and his haughty heart. I know about his insolence, says Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi, but his boasts are empty as his deeds. This is an article from DZRH, and the article was published on February 10th of this year. Looks like it was written on February 8th. This is out of Beijing, Reuters. I'm not going to read the entire article, probably just about 6 or 7 paragraphs out of this. I'll start with the first paragraph here. In China, humanoid robots are serving as Lunar New Year entertainment, with their manufacturers pitching their song and dance skills to the general public, as well as potential customers, investors, and government officials. On Sunday, Shanghai-based robotic startup Agibot live-streamed an almost hour-long variety show featuring its robots dancing, performing acrobatics, and magic, lip-syncing ballads, and performing in comedy sketches. Other Agibot humanoid robots waved from an audience section. A squad of 16 full-size humanoids from Unitree joined human dancers in performing at China Central Television's 2025 gala, drawing stunned accolades from millions of viewers. This year's CCTV gala will include participation by 4 humanoid robot startups: Unitree, Galbot, Notex, and Magic Lab, the companies and broadcasters have said. When robots begin to understand Lunar New Year and begin to have a sense of humor, the human-computer interaction may come faster than we think. Ma Hongyoung, a photographer and writer with 4.8 million followers on Weibo, said in a post. State-run securities Times said Agibot had opted out of the CCTV gala in order to focus spending on research and development. The company did not respond to a request. U.S. billionaire Elon Musk, who has pivoted automaker Tesla toward a focus on artificial intelligence and the Optimus humanoid robot, has said the only competitive threat he faces in robotics is from Chinese firms. Like those rivals, Musk has also used stunts to promote Optimus, rolling out humanoid-directed robots as bartenders at an event in 2024. So that's a quick look at one of those humanoids that was just recently used, and I'll play the actual video right now. So Moab has come a long way. You know, I remember as a kid, Saturday afternoon, sitting there watching a bunch of kung fu flicks from about 1 p.m. to about 4 or 5 p.m. And they've come a long way. And in this video, we see Moab welcoming in its Lunar New Year by showcasing humanoid robots and that are all powered by artificial intelligence. These robots were in full display performing synchronized backflips and acrobatics, as well as a sword display, a nunchuck routine, and various other martial arts. And just like the opening scripture that I read, Jeremiah 48 and 29, we have all heard of the pride of Moab, for his pride is very great. We know of his lofty pride, his arrogance, and his haughty heart. Moab right now feels that they're going to lead the way in this fourth industrial revolution, where we'll see the merging of man and machine. Right now, this AI race pretty much is between the US and China. The majority of videos I think I've seen regarding AI humanoids and robotic dogs have all come out of the US and China. So we're right here in the early stages of the fourth industrial revolution, where eventually it'll become more common to see man being merged with machines. In this particular video, we obviously didn't see that, but we can see where it's going. And just like I read in the opening article that I had here, I'll try to find that particular paragraph again, but we can see here they kind of made mention of it in the article itself. It says, hopefully I can find it again. I'll keep trying as this video progresses. I don't want to waste too much time here trying to find it again, but there was an individual in this particular article that's mentioned something about, let's see, less than 3 weeks later, Unitree's founder was invited to a high-profile symposium chaired by Chinese. That's not it. I'll just keep the video moving. When robots begin to understand Lunar New Year and begin to have a sense of humor, the human-computer interaction may come faster than we think. That's what I was looking for. If you kind of read between the lines on what she's stating, she's basically, I'll read that again. When robots begin to understand Lunar New Year and begin to have a sense of humor, the human-computer interaction may come faster than we think. And do not get it twisted. Interaction in that particular instance right there, what she's stating is merging. That merging will come faster than we think. But like I said, right now, this particular race, this AI race, is between the US and China. And we're in this fourth industrial revolution where we are about to see the merging of man with machines. And so technology is moving beyond just having a prosthetic leg for someone who may have had their leg amputated. We're moving past prosthetics now. We're now starting to see nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is going to be used in order to merge man with machines. So, we all remember movies, TV shows, old television shows like The Bionic Man and The Bionic Woman, RoboCop, even one of those Friday the 13th movies. It had Jason, if I'm correct. In the beginning of this movie, it's been so long since I've seen it. It's been since maybe like the late 80s, early 90s. They had Jason in some type of cryogenics chamber, which is basically a chamber that freezes, a body so that body may be brought back to life later on, maybe months or years later. And this was things that they were putting in movies back in the 80s or early 90s, and that's where they had him at. But later on in the movie, Jason was brought back to life using nanotechnology. We've seen the same thing in the Avengers movies with like Iron Man using nanotechnology, and they put these things in movies to normalize it. And now this technology is actually here, and most people are going to fall for the yoki doke. They're already using this technology along with implantable microchips to make people believe they're performing miracles. People that were paralyzed can walk again. Life expectancy being extended to like 140 to 150 years old. These are the things that they're talking about. These are the things that, if you come across enough of these articles now, this is all I'm coming across. And these are the type of things that they're promising. We understand what this devil is up to. It's not just about buying or selling. In terms of buying and selling is what we see in the book of Revelations, chapter 13, regarding the MOTB, the mark of the beast, being implanted either in the forehead or the back of the hand. But actually what it comes down to as well is that's going to be like the last stage. A lot of people initially are probably going to hold out. They're going to resist this. There a lot of people may or may not be real impressed with the miracles that these people are trying to show you that they can perform. Like I mentioned earlier, people who are paralyzed, they can walk now. People who couldn't see, now they can see again. This is all on the left hand side. We know how Yahweh performed these miracles already. So this is Esau and the nations are wanting to do the same thing, but it's coming on the left hand side. It's coming off of the left hand side now. So, when we read Revelation as far as buying and selling, that's the last part. That's going to be the part where, okay, not enough people are falling for the miracles. Not enough people are falling for us showing them that we can perform these miracles. So we'll just cut them off of society, cut them out of society altogether. And now when it becomes you can't go to the store and buy something, or you can't go online and make a purchase, or you can't pay your light bill or your car bill, your car note, or your insurance or your rent, your mortgage, that's going to be the backbreaker there for a lot of people. And those are going to be the ones who panic. So like I was saying, we understand what this devil is up to, and it's not just about buying or selling. And that's what, leads me to Second Thessalonians right now, chapter 2. If we go into Second Thessalonians chapter 2, and I'll scroll down to verse 9, this man will come to do, and I'm going to read this in the NLT. This man will come to do the work of Satan with counterfeit power and signs of miracles. He will use every kind of evil deception to fool those on their way to destruction, because they refuse to love and accept the truth that would save them. So Yahweh Bashem Yahweh will cause them to be greatly deceived, and they will believe these lies. Then they will be condemned for enjoying evil rather than believing the truth. And when it says, so Yahweh Bashem Yahweh in verse 11 will cause them to be greatly deceived, and they will believe these lies. You scroll down to verse 12, then they will be condemned. In the KJV, it says that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. And we know that state of being condemned, or that state of damnation there in verse 12, that is by thermonuclear destruction. So I want to go into another article though that kind of gets back into the miracles that this man is going to try to perform, or he's performing already off the left hand side. Transhumanism, becoming like God. This was an article written on May 14th, 2024 by an individual by the name of John Cloud. In 2016, a tragic driving accident left Nolan Arbaugh a quadriplegic and confined him to a wheelchair. In 2024, he began moving objects with his mind, or at least the mouse cursor on his computer screen. Nolan's superpower was made possible by Neuralink, a company specializing in implantable brain-computer interfaces that allow people to wirelessly control computers or mobile devices with their minds. On March 20th, Neuralink released a video of Nolan playing chess on his computer using only his thoughts. The 29-year-old was elated by his newfound ability, which has drastically improved his autonomy and quality of life. I'll scroll down just a little bit. As life-changing as this technology is for a person with quadriplegia, the end goal is to unlock human potential tomorrow. In other words, they'd also like to enhance the minds of healthy people with their technology. So they don't want to just stop with people who are, sick or handicapped or deformed. They want to put this in everyone. This technology, these brain implants, these subcutaneous implants that they would like to put in the entire world, actually, but the vast majority of the world. This isn't just something that they're talking about. They're actually already doing this. This has already started. This isn't something that's just a conspiracy theory anymore. This is actually in full motion right now, moving forward. So I'll read down the next paragraph. Cyborg Nation or restoration. The philosophy driving Neuralink and companies like it is transhumanism. An article at bulletin.com states, this futuristic movement sees the merging of human and machine as the next logical step in our evolution. As a philosophical and intellectual movement, transhumanism aims to enhance human longevity, cognition, as well and well-being with sophisticated technologies such as bionics, genetic engineering, cryonics, AI, and nanotechnology. Transhumanists want us to become post-humans who overcome our body's physical and mental limitations with technology. That's what I was saying earlier as far as, people, if you read enough on, cryogenics, transhumanism, post-humanism, nanotechnology, you read enough on this stuff, and you'll see that they're actually talking about extending, the human body now can be extended with, cryonics or cryogenics, as well as post-humanism. What they're trying to do is now we can extend your life to 120, 130, 140, 150 years old. And there's going to be enough people who are going to volunteer as guinea pigs because they want to be the first person that can say, at least in the modern era here, that I lived to be 160, 170 years old or something like that. These people are actually playing God. And that's what they're trying to do here. They're trying to actually replace God with themselves. So I'll pretty much leave it there. I'm not going to get into the entire article. I want to play one more video though. This is a video of Klaus Schwab. I believe he was the former leader or the former head of the WEF, the World Economic Forum.
Just think of the power of the combination of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and big data. So it's a combination of the different technologies which really bring the fundamental change. And finally, I think we have to be prepared for a world where we see a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological dimensions. So it will be a world integrating the physical, biological, and the digital dimensions. So it will be a new world. And I'm looking for a minister in 10 years. Probably it will be completely different from what it is now. Just think.
So there it is, like I was stating, just like I read in the opening article with the young woman from China who mentioned something to the effect of, there'll be a merging, but she didn't use the actual word merging between man and machine. She tried to use like a code word in there. But you heard it here right from this devil's mouth, basically, that is the goal, the merging of the physical, the digital, and the biological, and that's what nanotechnology is. Nanotechnology actually would be that tool that they use to merge man with machine. And, it would start with cryogenics. You would actually put, you would put a body in this type of freezer, and the body becomes so frozen, but you can kind of preserve it that way. And they have ways now of like actually moving the brain from the body into a robot. So now your physical body may actually be dead, but your consciousness is still alive in this robot now. And that is their goal. And that's what these guys are trying to do now. This is the fourth industrial revolution here. This is the merging of man with machine. The way that the scriptures, the way that Paul talks about, we'll get new bodies. But the way that they're doing it is off the left-hand side. Oh, you're going to get a new body. If you're doing, if you're messing with these guys, everything is coming off the left-hand side. This is that level of wickedness that they're on. They're, like I said, they're trying to replace God with themselves. So everything that's in the scriptures, they're trying to make it come to pass, but in wickedness. None of this is being done in righteousness here. Their whole objective is to replace the Most High, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, with themselves, which we know they can't do that, but they're going to try, and that's what scriptures tells us. So, we're at the end of this man's rulership, and that just goes to show, that people who believe that Japheth is the so-called white man, they're just flat out wrong. I'll get into Lamentations. And, the book of Lamentations, when you scroll down to verses 21 and 22, and I'll read this in the NLT, are you rejoicing in the land of Uz, O people of Edom? But you too must drink from the cup of Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai's anger. You too will be stripped naked in your drunkenness. O beautiful Jerusalem, your punishment will end. You will soon return from exile. But Edom, your punishment is just beginning. Soon your many sins will be exposed. Now, if we use that particular verse there, and we go to 2nd Esdras 6 and 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. If Japheth is the so-called white man, then that means we would have a whole nother captivity to go through. It completely, that teaching that Japheth is the white man, it completely goes against what's written in 2nd Esdras 6 and 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So this right here, I kind of got off a topic there. I'm not going to go too far into that. I'll do another video on that right there. But this right here, what we're living in, this is the end of this man's kingdom. And with us entering this fourth industrial revolution, it should start becoming more and more obvious. And when I say this man's kingdom, I'm talking Esau. This is Esau about to fall right here. And once again, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. That is the kingdom that is to come. So, but like I said, I'm not going to go too far into that. That was not really where I wanted to take this video. It just kind of Spirit just kind of led me there. But no matter what tools, including humanoid robots, deceptions or illusions or weapons that these nations try to bring out, to ultimately destroy the Most High's elect, it won't happen this go around. And we know that he's about to lose, and that's Esau that I'm talking about. Not just Esau, but the nations in general. The nations are about to lose. So, with that, I'll pretty much end it with Isaiah 41, 13 and 14. Isaiah 41, 13 and 14. And I'll read this in the NLT. For I hold you by your right hand. I, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, your power. And I say to you, don't be afraid, I am here to help you. Though you are a lowly worm, O Jacob, don't be afraid, people of Israel, for I will help you. I am Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, your Redeemer. I am the Holy One of Israel. And, so we don't have to fear, androids or humanoid robots or robotic dogs and that type of stuff. We have the power. We have Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai on our side. So, I pray that this video has been edifying and reaches the ears it's supposed to reach. Shalom.